Welcome back to JNS Daily Drives, everyone. My name is Jacob, and today we're going to be taking a look at this 2008 Audi RS4. In today's video, we're going to go over the exterior as well as the interior, go on a thorough drive, and see what this car is all about. Let's roll. So let's start with the front end of the car. And what I'd like to do is kind of point out some of the differences between the Audi A4, the S4, and this, the RS4. Now, a couple key differences between the RS4 and the other two models I just mentioned. Number one is these vents right here to help with cooling of the car. Also, this car has 19-inch wheels, which I think look very good. Also, I don't know if you can tell, but there's actually an RS logo located on the brake caliper itself with some ventilated discs there as well. Obviously much larger than the S4 and the A4. Another thing that kind of gives it away that this is an RS4 is the fenders. The fenders are wide as they're crazy. They're absolutely massive. You can kind of see a side profile down the side there. This thing is very, very wide. Now let's move to the side. Things are kind of the same deal. We have an RS4 badge there, but other than that, you can't really tell unless you look at the things that I mentioned, including the lower side skirt there, which kind of helps with aerodynamics. Other than that, it looks like any old S4 or A4. Now we move on to the rear of the Audi RS4. Now, a couple key differences, again, between the S4, the A4, and the RS4. The RS4 has these massive oval exhausts that I can actually fit my fist into. They're absolutely gigantic and they make an absolutely mean sound. We have a bit of a lip spoiler here, nothing too crazy. Like I've said, this car is an understated sports car because it has 4 doors. A lot of people are, can't really tell that it has 420 horsepower. Let's go ahead and pop the trunk and see how much space we have. As you can see, the space is pretty good back there. I have a full-size drone case, a camera bag, some other stuff back here, and I could probably still fit back there, but it's dirty out, so I'm not going to. But in terms of cargo space, it's pretty good. Located right here will be the cargo space with the seats folded like they are now, and then right here will be with the seats folded fully down for optimized cargo carrying needs. Now that we've gone over the exterior of the RS4, kind of looked at the differences that separates it from an S4 and an A4, let's go ahead and take a look at that engine. Now that's a 4.2 liter V8 engine producing 420 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque. Let's take a look. So here it is, the 4.2 liter V8 engine. This car also has the carbon fiber engine inserts, which I think makes it look absolutely awesome. It really shows off the character of the car. I think we should hear how it sounds. Now that we've heard how the engine sounds, let's go to the back and get a mean exhaust clip. Now that we've heard how the engine sounds, gotten that mean exhaust clip, and kind of walked around the car, there's nothing left to do but go for a drive. So now that we're inside and we're driving the 2008 Audi RS4, let's talk a little bit about that engine and the transmission that it's made it to. So that's a 4.2 liter naturally aspirated V8, made it to this, a 6-speed manual transmission. This is kind of the last in the full raw cars that Audi made. The Audi R8 did come in a manual, but this, a sedan, I think this is perfect. That engine produces 420 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque. So if I press this S button right here, and it makes it a little bit more sporty. this thing is absolutely incredible. I absolutely love this 6-speed manual. The throw feels great. Just the actuation of the shift itself feels awesome. And one thing that I will say about this engine that is ridiculous is, we're going to come on a straight here, throttle response. So throttle response is just ridiculous in this thing. It comes on so quickly. It's exactly like that RS5 I drove. And I think I like this more. Sure, the RS5 is a newer platform, has a dual clutch transmission, and it's probably a little bit faster, but this, I mean, doesn't get more fun than a manual and a V8. They're just not making them anymore. It's kind of sad. I'd like to talk a little bit about how this car feels to drive. And if you can drive a manual, you can drive this car. It's not intimidating, but it is incredibly fun when you want it to be. So, you know, if I decide that I want to, you know, floor it and have some fun, I can. And that sound, oh, the sound of that naturally aspirated V8 is so intoxicating. I just can't get enough of it. You're down in the lower gears using more gas because it just sounds so amazing, so meaty. I mean, just... And best thing about it revs to 8,000 RPM. So just when you think you should, you know, change gear, no, you still got another 1,000 RPM because most people are used to a 7,000 RPM redline. It's kind of similar to the way the RS5 is set up, and I talked about that a little bit in that video about how the redline, it just keeps going, it just keeps pulling, and then finally it's like, boom, next gear. Now, the Audi RS4 was only available in North America for a short period of time, and that was this generation. And after that, we got the RS5, which I've kind of mentioned a little bit, and I've talked about. It's kind of succeeded this car in North America. Unfortunately, there's been a couple more RS4s in Europe that we haven't gotten. That just goes back to the whole idea that Audi doesn't give us the good cars for some reason. Except for this. This car is fantastic. This thing is just such a delight to drive. So easy to drive too. You know, if I don't have it in sport mode, if I have everything just normal, it's so easy to drive. It's like every other car. The steering is really light until you turn on sport mode, and then it's a little bit heavier, but not too heavy. This car, I mean, wow. For a car that was built in 2008, sure, the interior styling and even the exterior styling too a little bit, you can see that it's aging a little bit. It's not aging very well, especially the interior, but what car interior is aging well these days? But in terms of what you get from this car, I think it's a fantastic deal. Not only is this car a good deal and a great car for the money, you know, it's also kind of a cult car, like the Lexus ISF and a few other cars. This car is becoming so desirable by so many people simply because of what it represents by Audi. It's Audi's, you know, naturally aspirated, no turbos. They don't care about fuel economy. A manual transmission. It's not about being fast. It's about being, you know, driver engaged, which this transmission absolutely is. I mean, wow, this thing is amazing. Now let's talk a little bit about interior quality, and that's one of the, I mean, I wouldn't say that the quality is one of the shortcomings of this RS4. It's more so the design layout, but, you know, I'm gonna cut them some slack considering that this car was built in 2008. But everything is built well. All the buttons feel good to the touch. They're nice, hard. They feel good. You know, the window switches, they feel fine as well. Everything feels good in here. We got nice leather here. We have beautiful feeling leather on the door panel here. The seats feel good. They're not quite as bolstered, as I would have hoped for, but you know, these are all small little details that kind of bask in the whole essence of this car. Because this car was built so long ago, no, you're not going to have some of the fancy technology that you have in newer cars. For example, I have a whole slew of buttons here. I have traction control. I have my rear sunshade, which I don't know if you can see that in the back on this camera, but that just went down back there. And then I have the sport button And really, that's kind of all you get. You don't have any driver's aids. You know, you do have backup sensors, but you don't have, you know, adaptive cruise or anything like that. But honestly, for a car like this, I don't think you really need it. It's perfect just the way it is. So let's talk about how this car rides. So, you know, Audi RS cars have been known to be quite harsh. You know, the RS5 was a pretty harsh car to ride in, and this one, it is harsh, but it's definitely better. It's not quite as stiff as the RS5, but it still maintains that stiffness, so that you feel like, you know, you're in a car that wants to go fast. It just wants to go. You know, that's a third gear pull at 3,000 RPM, and it just goes. The throttle response. But anyway, the seats are very comfortable. Like I said, they're not quite as bolstered as I would have hoped. But other than that, in terms of the ride pull, yeah, I think it's pretty good. You know, I think over a really long ride, you know, you might get a little bit sore, but such is life when you have a car like this that you're going to expect to perform the way that it does. You have to kind of live with a few things that come with the car. Let's talk about handling on this thing. Very precise. The turn-in's great. I mean, wow, it's impressive. This car turns so well, and for an all-wheel drive car, usually you'd expect the rear-wheel drive competitors to be much better in the handling department. But this car handles so well that I have a hard time believing that either the C63 AMG or the BMW M3 E90 or E92 version can handle as well as this thing. I'm sure they're pretty close, but man, this thing handles well. The emotion that this engine has, this engine is built with so much character. And that's one thing that I'm really sad to see going. I think a lot of other people that love cars are sad to see the V8 being pushed out by, you know, turbo 6s, turbo 4 cylinders even, and so on and so forth. So the fact that, you know, you can get this car for around $35,000 Canadian, it's just incredible. Before we go on with the rest of this review, I have to say a special thank you to Norm and the rest of the team at International MotorCars. If you guys have been following me for a while, you will know that I filmed a few cars with Norm and International MotorCars. They have such a great selection of vehicles for you to choose from Lamborghinis all the way down to some Hondas even. They have such a variety, it makes it easy for you to find the right car for you. And not only that, they are absolutely awesome to work with. Fantastic people, an unbelievable place to get cars from. So special shout out to them. Link below in the description will be the link to this exact car, which is for sale right now, as well as their website, which you can go check out and find your next car. I hope you guys enjoyed this video on this 2008 Audi RS4. If you did, make sure to smash that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. If you have any questions or comments, you know what to do. Look forward to seeing you next time.